If you're in Japan and there's an emergency, call 110 for the police and 119 for the fire department or an ambulance. Fire Force, or Nen no Shobutai, is an anime about a firefighting brigade that combats a supernatural menace, people who burst into flames that are consumed by destructive sentience. Since the story takes place in a parallel fantasy world, the fantastical firefighting techniques depicted are quite different from anything seen in the long history of real-life firefighting in Tokyo, the main focus of this video. Unfortunately, I was not able to find direct evidence of the influence of this history on the show. Still, in this video, I will share briefly what I did find about Oukubo's influences, and then move on to a survey of the history of firefighting in Tokyo from the Edo period, during World War II, and in the present day. What were Oukubo Atsushi's influences in creating this work? I was able to find an interview of Fire Force's writer and artist, who is also well known for having created Soul Eater. Oukubo is a horror film fan and noticed that zombies in those films tend to have similar behaviors. So he decided to come up with a new type of zombie, the burning zombie. Having thought of this idea, he became more interested in the clothing of firefighters and developed a fantasy world which incorporated these zombies and their adversaries. I find it interesting that he came up with the antagonist class before he came up with those that would have to face them. Perhaps because of this world-building process, the show is a bit disconnected from the reality of firefighting in Tokyo. The Special Fire Force Company 8 brandishes a unique mixture of military and religious equipment and symbols, neither of which is really apparent in a civil firefighting force. Turning towards real history, during the Edo period from 1600 to 1868, Edo, the old name for Tokyo, experienced dozens of major fires and many hundreds of smaller ones. Dense living conditions, charcoal stoves, and wooden housing made fires almost a regular expectation of life. There's a lot of interesting information about how this affected the lives of common people, but in regards to firefighting, the increased incidence of major fires throughout the Edo period eventually led to the formation of professional firefighting groups. Different firefighting brigades would identify themselves with paper matoi, a tradition that's still upheld figuratively and literally by modern Japanese fire brigades. The primary technique used at the time was demolition firefighting, which involved tearing down buildings in the path of a fire to contain it and prevent lateral spreading when it seemed impossible to keep the fire from spreading downwind. During this period, there was no way to ensure a steady water supply or to try and combat the source of major fires. This was a common tactic for the era across the world, and it was also used by London's fire brigades in the 1600s. There were also fire prevention efforts directed by the shogunate. This would be especially relevant after very large fires, such as the Great Fire of Meireki in 1657, where up to 70% of Edo was destroyed and over 100,000 people perished. After these catastrophes, the cities would be rebuilt with fire breaks, or wide streets, and with newly imposed regulations on building materials. This would occur over a period of years. Other measures attempted included restricting the burning of wood for bathhouses or the manufacture of fireworks within city limits. Individuals also took action as well. One type of defense that is still common in Japan today is a dozo, a type of storehouse with earthen walls that could protect its contents in a fire. Less than a century after the Edo period, during World War II, the United States military conducted terribly destructive bombing raids on the Japanese mainland from 1942 until the end of the war in 1945 to destroy Japanese industrial capacity. The bombings, however, were not done with extreme precision, and many bombs fell on urban areas, killing hundreds of thousands of Japanese civilians. Not only were Japanese ground-to-air and air-to-air defenses insufficient to fend off the US bombers, the firefighting apparatus was utterly overwhelmed. The Tokyo Fire Department, though it had some modern equipment and strategies from progress made during the Meiji period, was still short-handed and lacked crucial technologies, such as specialized tools and extinguishers. It also had to contend with the destruction of much of its equipment in previous air raids. After the war, a 1946 article I found offers insight on the conditions of Tokyo's firefighting system. Although the article is about a US military firefighting platoon that was active in the Tokyo area, it stands to reason that this platoon's resources and modernization program would have been inherited by the native Japanese firefighting force, reflecting an era of broader reforms all throughout Japanese economics, politics, and society under US military occupation. Experienced firefighters were brought in from New York State and San Francisco. The 1,225th Engineer Firefighting Platoon, finding leaky Lennon hoses, a lack of ladder trucks, and low water pressure, imported or had manufactured new equipment that would facilitate modern firefighting strategies. They took calls and put out fires primarily to serve the needs of the occupying US military, but also responded to all civilian emergencies as well. Today, the Tokyo Fire Department, officially formed in 1948, is the largest urban fire department in the world, with 18,000 staff, hundreds of vehicles, and a mission to respond not only to fires, but also to biological, chemical, and radioactive hazards, earthquake and flooding events, as well as provide medical services and search and rescue. They also, like many fire departments, do events to raise awareness about fire safety. For example, this demonstration in Akibahara, featuring voice actors from the Fire Force anime, Gakudo Kujiwada and Kazuya Nakai, who play protagonist Shinra and Captain Akitaru, respectively. For this event, the voice actors were given the honorary roles of commanding officers and gave orders during a live demonstration. There's still also many ways to engage with the history of the Tokyo Fire Department as well. Each year on New Year's Day, the Tokyo Fire Department holds the Dezomi Shiki Parade, which exhibits both traditional attire and ladder acrobatics, as well as an appearance by large numbers of the department's various firefighting vehicles and even helicopters. Also, a free fire museum in Shinjuku showcases a wide array of historical firefighting vehicles and equipment. That's all I have to share. If this topic interests you, fire during the Edo period has been the subject of intense research, and there's a lot of history I didn't cover in detail or at all. I hope this video was an informative survey of the history of the Tokyo Fire Department. Thank you.